Welcome to Little House Switch. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about dehydrating your herbs that you grow in your own garden. So today I have my rosemary shrub that I just picked up at one of the local greenhouses. It is a little bit taller than I want it to be, so we are going to cut it down a little bit today. But I've gone ahead and I've gone out into the gardens already this morning and noticed some stuff that we could pick and get ready to go into the dehydrator. So we have some mint here that's already been washed and some sage that has also already been washed. So hopefully we can fit that all in there today, because there was more than I had planned on out there. I actually have a sink full more of mint, so we're gonna make that work somehow. So just to let you know what we're using today is I'm by the way, not even remotely close to sponsored. This is just the dehydrator that I have that I've picked up. I picked this up at Walmart in Canada for $50. It is the Sultan Vita Pro. It does vegetables, fruit. You can do jerky. I have not tried jerky yet. You can do fruit roll-ups. It comes with a cool little tray that you can do fruit roll-ups. But today what I'm going to be using is, if I can even get it out now, the herb tray that comes with this. Right now, as you can tell, we've already been dehydrating some rhubarb. I had to clean up the plant a little bit. The dogs trampled it and snapped some of the stems, so I'm not ready to cook with it, so I'm going to dehydrate it. So we'll get this back in there and I'll show you what we're going to be doing. Get it nice and flat. So all this mat does is prevent some of the smaller herbs from falling through and kind of lays them out nice and flat. The tray itself is pretty tightly woven, so it shouldn't be a problem. I don't know if you guys can see that. It should not be a problem, but you know, when things get dried out, things tend to shrink and they might fall through. So it's just nice to have this in there. And we're gonna put that back in again. Okay. There we go. All right, so as I said before, I've already been out in the garden and I picked off as much as I could of my mint because it's growing wild already, like it's spreading like crazy and it's time to trim it back. So when you are trimming your herbs, guys, most important thing, you don't need fancy garden tools, just a nice sharp pair of scissors that you have washed and disinfected. I like to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol or hydrogen peroxide and wipe down my blades. The reason you want to do this is you don't want to be spreading any kind of disease or bacteria to your plants, which might harm them or kill them off or make them sick. So always work with clean utensils. And when you're going up to a plant, and I can show you here on this guy, on the rosemary, you're looking to go above 2 leaves when you're snipping so that you still are leaving a couple of good sized leaves on the stem. So for example, like this guy here, I would go with these 2 and I would just kind of snip in between like so. So it's really easy, really simple. You don't need to trim off a lot, just enough to kind of promote more growth around the plant. So for me, this guy's a little bit too tall. I don't want it to keep going tall. I want it to kind of spread out a bit more. What happens a lot of time with herbs, and is the #1 frustration, is that they get too tall and they get woody and they don't produce nicely. So you've got this bare stem and some growth shooting way at the top. So you want to try and encourage that plant to grow down. So this is what we're going to do. And I'm short, so I'm on my tippy toes. But we're just going to be trimming a couple back. Not a lot because I don't want to stress the plant, but there we go. Maybe this guy here too. There's no real rule. I mean, I've never followed any real rules to harvesting my herbs. I've just been mindful that you don't want to take off too much all at once, and you don't want to bring it back to the stem, because once you've brought it back to the stem, you're killing off a lot of the growth and it'll just be kind of sparse and woody and it won't look as nice. So just take off a little bit at a time so that you're kind of encouraging that plant to spread out more, then shoot up. So once you've done that, pardon me, it's warm today here. Once you have done that, you're going to take your herb and you're going to come over to your sink. And you don't need to scrub or rub at it. You're just going to ruin the plant doing that. You're just going to rinse it off. Kind of shake it out a little bit. And that's where the paper towel comes into play. So I'm gonna place it on the paper towel just to get the excess moisture off. Just like that. And you're gonna grab a couple more sheets of paper towel or whatever you use to dry. It can be a dishcloth, whatever you have. And you're just gonna tap it. You don't need to go crazy or squish it because you don't wanna ruin any of the plant leaves or anything like that. So just tapping it. So that should be pretty good for drying. And then what you're gonna do is just keep it on the stem. You don't need to trim back. You might wanna look for any imperfections or anything like that that you wanna take off. But you're just gonna lay it on the dehydrator. Just like so. And you know, there's you don't need to have an order or anything to it. Just try and get as many in there as you can. They will shrink. So it looks like it's overcrowded, but keep in mind that as you're dehydrating, it's taking the moisture out and that plant is shrinking down. So you're just gonna keep them on like that. And I did have some nice sage this morning too, I noticed. So I grabbed some sage, washed it. I kind of look for things like this, where it's got a little bit more of the stem on it. I just come along, trim that off. And again, you're just placing them wherever you can fit them. I don't get too crazy because as they shrink down, you're going to be readjusting anyways and checking in on these guys. So you're going to be making room as you go. There we go. Let's see if I can squeeze this guy in here somewhere. If you have to, trim a bit of the stems off to make room, but it's not that big of a deal really. Just kind of put them in there. All right, so kind of go like that. So now that we got those guys in, you can kind of remove your paper towel, clean up, do what you gotta do. And you can put the lid on, just like so, and set it. So this guy, for herbs, you're gonna wanna set between 35 and 40. I've chosen to go with 40 simply because I do have rhubarb in the bottom that I'm drying as well. What will happen is when the herbs, they'll probably dry faster than my rhubarb. So I will take the rhubarb out when it's dry and then bump these guys down to 35. They recommend between 30 and 40. This does not have a 30°C setting. So if you're in Fahrenheit, what I'm working with is 95 Fahrenheit to 105 Fahrenheit. I'm working on the 105 right now, but I would prefer, if it was just herbs, to drop it down to that 96 Fahrenheit, 36 Celsius. So once you've got that set, you're literally just gonna turn it on. And it's not terribly loud, but it's loud. Like you're gonna hear it running. But the herbs take about 4 to 8 hours, depending on the herb. And the rhubarb is about 8 to 10 hours. So what I will likely do, because I can't really do a whole lot of rotating around with what I've got in this rack, I'll probably put in another rack later in the middle. The Sultan Pro comes with a couple of rack choices. I will put this in the middle and then I'll move my rhubarb to the top and then my herbs down to the bottom, just so that nothing passes through and contaminates each other. So it's really just that easy, guys. The Sultan Vita Pro says that you can do fruit, jerky, fish, vegetables, you name it, you can do it in here. I have only tried vegetables and fruit so far, and my herbs obviously. You can dry flowers to make potpourri. So it's a cool little machine. It's inexpensive. You could spend a lot of money and get some expensive ones, and they're nice and they're out there on the market, but as you can tell, I'm running out of space in my kitchen for great big utensils. So smaller is better, and for its size and for the price, I have not been disappointed with this. So that's my quick tutorial on drying herbs. So key importance, make sure everything is cleanly, don't use any dirty tools, don't trim too far back on your plant. Give your plant a couple of days of rest. You might want to water it, maybe give it a little bit of fertilizer if it's time to do that. But other than that, it'll keep growing and you can keep harvesting all year round. So thanks for watching. I am Little House Witch. If you've liked this video, please hit the subscribe or the like button and stay tuned for my next video, because I picked up a meat grinder for $20 and it came with all the attachments, and it needs some cleaning because it's used obviously, but I have never used a meat grinder and I'm kind of excited, so we'll learn how to use it together. Maybe we'll make some hamburgers or sausages or something. I have no idea. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned and follow me for more content. Thanks again for watching.